Thank you for joining us for today's briefing on Swords Main Street's transformation. My name is David Brannigan. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager with Fingal Chamber. I'll be doing my best to guide you through the session this morning. Before we begin, just a few bits of housekeeping to cover off. This session is being recorded and will be shared afterwards, along with any presentation slides with all registered attendees. So you'll be able to revisit anything that's covered here today and share it with any colleagues or neighbours that it might be relevant to. All participants are on mute to ensure we have clear audio throughout and it's uninterrupted. If you do run into any technical issues, please use the chat function or email our team at events@fingalchamber.ie and one of our team members will do their best to assist you as soon as possible. We'll take questions at the end of the session when we move to the Q&A, but if you simply use the Zoom raise hand function, we'll be able to invite you to unmute, or you can ask your questions directly via the Q&A function in your Zoom toolbar. We'll aim to finish on or before time, so please do stay with us for the full session, particularly for the Q&A at the end, which is often the most useful discussion happens there. And that's everything from me. I'll now hand you over to Anthony Cooney, Chief Executive of Fingal Chamber, to begin the session. Over to you, Anthony.
Thanks, David. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending this very important briefing session on the extensive infrastructure projects that are going on within the Swords and indeed the Fingal region, which is the benefit of all parties concerned who are living or doing business in the region. I'm joined here this morning by a team from Fingal County Council, the Director of Services, Matthew McAleese, the Senior Planner, Lally, and the Project Manager for the Swords project, Shane Satell. And this is part of the broader infrastructure updates to follow as the year progresses. So I'd like to hand over to Matthew to take matters from here. Over to you.
Thanks, Anthony. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you here this morning. And just look, before I hand over to Linda and Shane, I just want to thank Anthony and David for inviting us along this morning. It's great to have the opportunity to talk about the council's continued investment in Swords. As you'll be aware, we have made a lot of work on the Culture House. That's the new library and theatre building. Significant progress has been made, and hopefully we'll have a complete building by the end of the year. And in the coming weeks, we will commence work on the area known as the SCQ. That's the public realm area around the castle, around County Hall, and around Culture House itself. And the combined investment by the council in the Culture House and in the SCQ area is around 70 million. And we look forward this morning to presenting on the very exciting proposals for Main Street. We want to continue to invest in Swords, which is the capital town for Fingal, and we want to deliver a really transformative project for the town. So without further delay, I'm going to hand over to Linda, and then Shane will come in and talk some more about the project as well. I'm happy to take any questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Just again, to mirror match, thanks very much, Anthony and David, for facilitating the seminar. And to everybody here, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to engage with yourselves to talk about the Main Street transformation. As Matthew said, we're pretty excited about it, looking forward to delivering on it, and really interested in your feedback and your thoughts around this. And I suppose we'll get into that a little bit more in the presentation. So I'm going to bring you through the first set of slides, and then I'm going to hand over to Shane Satell, who's the Senior Exec Engineer and Project Manager for the Main Street transformation. So the first slide here, you can just see it's our branding slide around Main Street transformation, and we spent a little bit of time in that. I suppose we're very keen to foster as much engagement on the project as possible. Today, we're going to go through the vision we have for the Main Street transformation, what the opportunities are, what issues will the project address, and to talk to you about a business workshop that to host with yourselves in a little while, and the next steps. So the vision for Main Street is a vibrant street that fosters community, supports local business, celebrates heritage and enhances connectivity, creating a welcoming space for all in the heart of Swords. And I suppose this vision we would have, I suppose, come to as such out of the work that was done on the Sustainable Swords strategy that the council delivered back in 2022, which was a placemaking public realm and transport study as to how we can really grow Swords in a sustainable way. The current population is earmarked to double over coming years, and so we were very keen to sort of enable or foster that in a plan-led way and in a sustainable way. So out of the Sustainable Swords strategy, there was a number of projects, and the first one being Swords Main Street transformation, which we are progressing now. So like that, I suppose one of our main objectives was to create a vibrant Main Street, and I suppose complement the offering of the pavilions, and that's something that in the strategy we're sort of very keen to do, and I suppose keen to increase the footfall on the Main Street itself, and to, I suppose, create a destination, create Main Street as a destination for people. So very keen to support local business. You can see here on the right, this is a very recent photo from Athlone, where they've delivered on a significant public realm project to upgrade some of the streets in the very centre of the town. That's been a huge success. Very keen again to foster community, and Main Street as a social space. So as you can see here on the shot on the right is sort of an example of outdoor dining, and this is something we would like to enable and to facilitate. It's something that came out of COVID, and it would be great to see that more embedded in the Main Street in terms of public realm. Again, creating that destination space. So Swords is a very strong heritage piece. We've an ornament right in the middle of town. I think the year the ornaments is coming up is 2028 eventually, and we'd love to highlight heritage that's here in Swords, and I suppose bring to the forefront Swords and very such. And like that, as Matt mentioned earlier, those works around the public realm space around the castle are going to really put the castle center stage in Swords, and the work we're hoping to do in the Main Street is basically to continue that on. So, as we're all aware, at the moment there's issues with the Main Street accessibility, and that's something very much we're hoping to address. And I suppose we will be working hard to provide a welcoming and accessible and a diverse public space that's accessible to all. Again, looking for healthy and sustainable development, and SUDs and sustainable urban drainage will form part of that. Potentially looking at play areas for younger kids, and also spaces where we can really green up the Main Street as such. So the transformation has started. The SCQ, significant investment gone into the culture house itself. That's going to provide a fantastic community space for not just Swords, for the wider county. As very, I suppose Swords is the county town, and that's something that we'd like to recognise. And I think the culture house is going to go a long way to doing that, providing library space, art gallery, theatre space, and with the public realm complementing that space, creating a public realm node point between the castle, the culture house, and the council offices themselves. And again, something we'd like to continue on up the Main Street towards the Garda station. So this snapshot here is sort of just trying to give you a flavour of what potential Main Street has in terms of what could potentially be delivered. So you can see here seating areas, sustainable urban drainage features, and of course trees, very important part of Main Street, and that's something we want to continue going forward. So the opportunities. On this note, I'd just like to say thanks very much, and I'm going to hand over to Shane.
Hi everyone. I was introduced at the start. My name is Shane Satell, and I'm the project manager for the Swords Main Street transformation. We're working with a multidisciplinary design team, which is led by our consultant engineers Aegis, and we have NMP landscape architects, and we also have communication specialists on this MCO, because I suppose we understand the importance of reaching out to community and getting feedback on the various design elements, and trying to bring people along with us on what's, you know, a very important project for the centre of town. So I'm going to just talk about some of the opportunities. Linda spoke about the vision there, and I suppose what we could achieve. And I suppose, you know, bringing that vision forward, we look at some of the opportunities that may be there, and I suppose some of the issues that currently are on Main Street, and then just talk about a business workshop that we'd like to invite members to. So some of the opportunities there are, you know, we really want to create that accessible, inviting space to shop, to work, and to play. And we want to build on some of the previous success from the outdoor dining that started in COVID, and really brought people out and brought people to engage with spaces. And probably that's been lost since, because it wasn't formalized and it was only temporary. But I suppose we want to bring that along in a more permanent space. We want to create outdoor seating, more traffic calm streets. We want to introduce more biodiverse planting. And really, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about increasing footfall and encouraging people back into the centre of towns. You hear, you know, throughout the country that main streets and towns are losing footfall, and dereliction and loss of business and so on. And really this is an opportunity to create something special in Swords, you know, an attractive place that people want to visit. And that's really about, you know, improving the public realm and providing access for everyone, and really just to push forward with the universal design. So we'll see about the issues there at the moment and the current trees, but just, you know, universal design is a very important aspect for the project. Some of the design concepts that we would look at introducing is pocket parks, which are these small planted areas, and really just to enhance Main Street as a social space. And then as part of that greening, it's to introduce sustainable urban drainage, which is, you know, a way to try and reduce flooding. And that's part of many projects that are being introduced. Again, you know, we're speaking to the Chamber today, and you know, really Main Street, it's about the shops, it's about the public space, it's about a space for all in the centre of town. And really what we want to help foster and support is, you know, a place for a thriving business community, and enhance Main Street that can support the businesses to flourish. I have a short video to play afterwards from Blackrock, where the Chamber, where there was works brought in a temporary base and now being made permanent. And there's the chairman from the Blackrock Business Network, Tom Feely, just talks about their fears at the start of the project. And then I suppose really how those fears weren't realised, and that the increased dining space and the increased, or the improved public realm really attracted people to come and have coffee. And they'd have coffee, they'd stay, they'd chat, and then they'd move on to some of the local shops. So they've been attracted there, and then they're engaged to stay and to use other shops. And you know, there is research there to back up that, you know, when you make these projects, it really does attract people to come and to stay and to spend. Now, unfortunately, I think the sound isn't going to work, but there are subtitles, so you just have to, I think, possibly read the subtitles as opposed to listen to Tom speak. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, look, we mentioned in the vision there was to really just to build on the heritage of swords. And you can see from the Norman Castle and around the Swords Cultural Quarter, there's evidence of Viking settlements going back 1,000 years. So, Swords Main Street has been here for a long time and has evolved over that time. And I suppose we want to continue that evolution, but we also want to build on the heritage that we have. So we're looking at a connected approach for transport. So, as part of the design, we are considering the fact that, Metrolink has received planning permission and that, that will progress. The R132 connectivity project is underway, and Bus Connects, I think it's almost there for Swords, and that is likely to progress in the future as well. So all these projects will bring more people to Swords and make Swords more accessible. And I suppose we want to be able to benefit from those additional customers. And I suppose by getting ahead of that and by trying to create that attractive place at the heart of Swords. So the issues, look, and this is, I suppose, just to note some of the issues that are currently there, and I suppose that we'd like to address as part of the project. So economic vibrancy. So look, Main Street is used as a hub and relied on by many, but the retail environment does not reflect this. So I mean, really what that's saying is that it is a vibrant place at the moment. There are people using it, but I suppose it really possibly could do with a facelift at the moment. There's broken asphalt and trees pushing up, and it's very heavily car dominated and not so much space for people. In Sustainable Swords business survey, the quality of the public realm and accessibility and connectivity were cited as issues facing the businesses, and public realm improvements have been shown to attract private investment in main streets. So the inaccessible design. So identified as part of Sustainable Swords Main Street footpaths are broken and uneven and inaccessible. They can create trip hazards and make it difficult for wheelchairs, mobility aids, or prams to move through Swords Main Street. The paths can be cluttered with guardrails, bollards, poles, electricity poles, sandwich boards, trees, and they can obstruct walking and wheeling. On-street parking reduces certain footpath widths, making it hard to see up and coming obstacles. And then the lack of seating and resting opportunities was identified. Again, Sustainable Swords noted that currently 60 to 70% of Main Street is dedicated to traffic and to parking. And the car parking spaces alone account for approximately 33% of the space. There's illegal parking turns, turning, and dangerous traffic movements were noted as part of the study on a daily occurrence. And again, the study noted, as opposed to ourselves, that visitors don't feel safe walking or cycling or wheeling on Main Street. That just shows an example of some of the traffic movements that are required with the reverse parking and so on. So the engagement activities, and I suppose, as I mentioned, engagement is a vital part of the project for us, and I suppose that's why we're here, and that's why we're hoping to proceed with a workshop as well with some of the local businesses. So where we are at the moment, we're looking at the non-statutory engagement. We've had councillor, and this is our chamber briefing now. We're in the process of carrying out school workshops. I suppose that the children are the future, to coin a phrase. And we've had one workshop with Loretto College, and we have another one tomorrow with Fingal, and then we also have a workshop with one of the local primary schools. We plan to do a business leaflet walkabout, which is just to provide information to the various businesses on Main Street about the project and how we hope it will proceed, and then again to invite people with that leaflet drop to a workshop so that they can, give their opinion on what they'd like to see. We also plan to do a disability walkthrough, and again, I said accessibility is one of the main drivers for the project, and it's to give people with disabilities an opportunity to feed into the project as well. I mentioned there that we do business and community workshops, and then stakeholder meetings if required. We then do an update, and then in early 2027 we hope to begin the statutory process, which will either be a Part A process through the council or a planning permission to onboard Panola. And at that stage, there'll be additional comms, surveys, letter drops, and then an opportunity to engage as part of the statutory process. So we're here at the, up to now. We started in the start of 2020, around 2025, and we've done a number of project studies, background studies, mapping, service studies, various things, and we've, I suppose, refined the approach to non-statutory public engagement, and that's where we are at the moment. Where design development will follow the engagement, where we're looking at the preliminary design and then screening for the planning. Be then preparing the planning application, and then hoping to submit the planning application in 2027. How will we engage with the businesses? So we hope to hold a business workshop. So that's where we invite 30 people to a workshop. In the case of additional interest, a second session can be organised for interested parties. We've booked the Risk Centre in Feltram, and we'll ask this chamber to circulate the invitations to the registered members, and we'll also do a flyer drop to local businesses on in and around Main Street. The flyer will have a QR code that members will be able to sign and register for the workshop. And at the moment, we have a date of Tuesday, the 23rd of June for that workshop. Again, just on the leaflet, so we'll do that flyer walkabout around Main Street and the surrounding laneways, and business will be advised of the up and coming workshop and how to register. What we hope to learn from that workshop, a similar exercise was done for Skerries Harbour, for non-statutory public consultation, involved a workshop that gave local businesses the opportunity to voice their hopes and concerns for the proposed scheme. Reporting gave the design team an opportunity to address these suggestions and acknowledged how they could be incorporated into the detailed design. And then a consultation update before the statutory phase allowed these design responses to be communicated back to stakeholders. So really what that says is, we hold a workshop, we give people an opportunity to voice their concerns and their hopes, and then a report is then provided for the design team. How I mentioned, our multidisciplinary design team, and really they hope to capture as many of those hopes and concerns within the design. So how would it work on the day? So we'd have breakout tables facilitated by our communication specialist, MCO, and that's where we hope to capture the hopes and concerns for the street. And really we'll be considering practical elements like the positioning of loading bays, access for businesses, bin storage, taxi bays, licensed seating, kind of really practical measures that the business would have good insight on. There'll also be comment forms for feedback from individuals. And then, as I say, a consultation report will be created with the feedback from the workshop and provided for the designers. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll hand back over to Andrew and David.
Thanks very much, Shane. Really comprehensive look at where you are with the program. So great to see that. We're going to be able to take any questions people might have. We've sent a note there. If you'd like to raise your hand and to put yourself forward to ask a question now, you can do so. Or alternatively, if you'd like to type in a question in the Q&A function, we'll be able to catch it there and do our best to get it to the guys from Fingal County Council today. I would start maybe with a question myself. And this is billed as, Main Street transformation. It really is going to change now over the next number of years. I see, the statutory sessions are going to be coming up later in the year. At this point, for people who are on the call, businesses in the area, should they be kind of looking to engage with you now, or should maybe kind of hold off, or just really spend some time over the next little while gathering their thoughts? Is this, the initial kind of making people aware of it, and then therefore, give it some time for consideration and come back with maybe some feedback at the time of those workshops with MCO?
Yeah, I'll take that. Oh, sorry, Linda, you go ahead.
I think it would be very beneficial for us in the project and for the Main Street itself if we can get as much detailed feedback as possible from businesses. And by all means, if people want to go off and consider what was presented today, and the slides will be circulated, but that they come back to us during the workshop, before the workshop. Even if they can't make the workshop, if they were to come back to us with feedback, that would be really useful. I think we do very much appreciate that. Like waiting until the statutory consultation, obviously that will be considered as well, but I think the feedback from the businesses would ensure we're heading in the right direction going forward to planning. And I think it would have more impact earlier in the project rather than later.
Great, good to know. So yeah, we'll encourage everyone who's either viewing this live or watching it back and checking out the slides to get in touch. What's the best, I suppose, route for that feedback initially?
I think that we have we have an email with the website, and we could circulate that. I think that'd probably be the best way to come to us.
Okay, great, super stuff. I don't see any hands raised at the moment. I'm not sure if Anthony would like to come in with a question on that. I'll just try and check through the box here.
Just to, first of all, I suppose it's great to have the interaction and the collaboration of the local authority in the presentation here this morning. And I think it's really important for people to engage, as Linda said early, in any process. And equally, the Fingal County Council team this morning have been very forthcoming with the information. It's good to get it out there, dispels any myths people may have, and if they have concerns, please raise them going forward. Could I just say that I'm sure I'm just going to ask the question. I probably know some of the answer, but in relation to future briefings, public briefings for the business community like this, apart from the workshop on the 23rd of June, are there other briefings planned throughout the year and for the proceeding and indeed during this project?
I might just come in there, Anthony. And you used the word collaboration there, and I really do want to emphasize that's the approach that we're taking here. The Chamber is probably one of the key stakeholders for us in this process. This today was only intended as an introduction to the project, and it's the start of a process and of a process of collaboration with yourselves and your members. I think the workshop for anyone that can attend, I think, will be hugely beneficial, because it'll be very interactive and it'll give people a sense of the challenges that are out there at the minute, but more importantly, the opportunities for Main Street. But it has to work for everyone, and we're very conscious of that. we're hugely conscious of the traffic issues in and around the town. This isn't simply about Main Street and businesses on Main Street. We're looking at the much wider area of Swords and how any work here will impact on the wider area of Swords. We're conscious that we're on site, as Shane mentioned there, with the R132 at the minute. We're going on site in the coming weeks with the SCQ, which is going to lead to one wing of North Street, for example, and there will be some stop and go on Main Street. And everybody is aware we have Metrolink enabling works commencing 2027, 2028. So there's a lot happening in Swords. And the last thing that we want to do is try and bring forward a project that is going to create even more congestion and problems in and around the town. So we're acutely aware of that as well, and the timing of that. So the workshop is an opportunity to speak to the much wider team. It's Shane is the project lead, Linda is the senior engineer, and I'm the director. We have a multidisciplinary team sitting behind us, and we have communication experts as well. So it's an opportunity to meet that wider team and understand all the aspects of this project, and not just what you've seen on the presentation today. That's what I would see as the proper kickoff for the engagement with the chamber. This is purely, as I say, an introduction, and really whatever is needed in terms of collaboration and engagement, we will provide. We're bringing, Shane mentioned Blackrock, but there's also a recently completed regeneration project down in Athlone. We are bringing our councillors down to Athlone again to meet the local chamber down there and some of their local councillors and their project team to, again, this is all about understanding the challenges, the opportunities, the setbacks that these projects present, and how we move through that collaboratively and ultimately come out at the end of that with a project that the town can be proud of and everybody who lives, works and visits here can be proud of. And as I say, the council is fully committed to that continued investment. Swords is going to grow to 100,000. We've done a lot of modelling. Swords in its current configuration and it will grind to a halt as the population grows unless we take certain steps, and that includes bringing in public transport, the Metrolink, bus connects, a greater use of active travel. All of that needs to coincide with all of these projects, and this project sits within the bigger vision for Swords, which is the Sustainable Swords project. So, look, as I say, this is an introduction. I really hope as many of your members as possible can join us in the workshop. It'll be a certain number on the day, but if there's a demand, we'll do a second one, and then that will kick off into other engagements later on in the year.
Great, thanks so much, Matthew. I don't see any questions or hands up there, so we'll, I suppose, leave it there and allow people to maybe go away and consider the presentation that we had this morning and look through the slides post-event, and to give it some thought before perhaps registering for the workshops that we'll have coming up at the end of June. We'll share those links out with anyone who's attended here today and registered their interest for this to keep them up to date with those, and look forward to being able to, I suppose, help and progress and the plans going forward. Thanks so much to the Fingal County Council team for engaging on this today, and we look forward to catching up with you again in the not so distant future on this. Thanks very much.